whenever you're used to being able to use your mind to overcome things, depersonalization-derealization is very frustrating because you try to outthink the symptoms with various tactics. You think, oh, this is just like anything in life. I'm just gonna outthink them. And yet you realize that your mind is not enough. And whenever somebody's used to using their mind to excel in life, excel in their career, excel in their relationships, excel generally speaking, it's humbling. It's very frustrating. And because people are trying to use their mind to overcome the symptoms through acceptance and distraction and just not thinking about them or just overthinking about them, obsessing about them all the time, the symptoms become like this Rubik's Cube where it just seems impossible to crack. In fact, I was just in I was in Walmart, and they had different Rubik's Cubes with various challenges, and one above this was called the Impossible Rubik's Cube. And it had just different shades of colors. Anyway, it's really crazy, but it seems like this impossible Rubik's Cube. And yet, the missing ingredient that actually takes it from being this impossible Rubik's Cube to actually something that's very simple to solve, see how much smaller that is and easier, is the body. You have to understand that trauma primarily affects one in their body. And you take somebody that's dissociated from their body, either through living in their head all the time, or literally feeling out of body, which would be depersonalization. They don't have a lot of awareness of their body. In fact, people often have no awareness, inner felt sense awareness of their body. And so because of that, you're not even aware of all the chaos that's happening in your body. Muscle tension that's happening subconsciously throughout your day. Fight or flight energy that's built up in your body. Emotion that's built up in your body, especially if you're emotionally numb, which tends to happen whenever there's just overwhelming emotion. Your body just shuts it off. You're not aware of all the chaos that's happening in your body, and you've got all these cognitive interruptions, like you can't think straight, you can't concentrate, you can't remember, and so you just conclude, okay, this is the issue. It's a mind issue. Because there's an interruption in my software, right? We use our mind to navigate through our daily lives, and whenever there's an interruption in that, we just assume that that's the problem. But in reality, the cognitive interruptions are reflective of the body interruptions, of all the chaos happening in your body. And if you can resolve what's happening in your body, the cognitive interruptions will naturally resolve themselves. So, with that being said, this is also a problem whenever it comes to going to most licensed mental health professionals, is they're going to have either talk therapy as the primary approach, or sometimes you'll get cognitive behavioral therapy. Very rarely are you going to find a licensed mental health professional that provides a trauma-based approach. They're definitely out there. There's some amazing trauma therapists, trauma psychologists, etc. But, I mean, I literally talk to people 7 days a week, and most of them have gone to some sort of licensed mental health professional, and almost without fail, it's going to be some sort of cognitive behavioral therapy or talk therapy. It's usually just talk therapy. And the problem is whenever your body is in a place of chaos, your higher thinking functions are interrupted and are not going to be responsive to attempts to reform thinking. And even your words are not going to do a whole lot. You have to resolve what's happening in the body. So with that being said, once you understand that, it just simplifies the whole process. Once you start to understand that the body was the missing ingredient all along, and I just wasn't aware of all of the chaos in my body because I've been somatically dissociated, meaning disconnected from my body in various ways, all of a sudden your new focus is on resolving what's happening in your body. And I went in my house real quick and got this so you could see it, a really, really good book that I encourage everybody to get and read. I tell all of my clients to read this. It's called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, who is one of the world's leading experts on trauma and how it affects the body. And it's called The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. And this book goes into a lot of depth as far as how trauma affects your body. That's why it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And this is very awakening for a trauma survivor because of dissociation. They literally, like, they're not even aware that they have a body. That was literally me. I spent most of my life, even long before depersonalization, which is feeling totally out of body, came in whenever I was 18 and had the bad marijuana experience, I was still dissociating. There's a spectrum of dissociation. Dissociation just means disconnected. Now, what I specialize in helping people is with specifically depersonalization-derealization. There's technically a bunch of stuff on the dissociation spectrum. But nonetheless, literally just living in your head all the time is a form of dissociation. You're disconnecting from inner felt sense awareness of your body. You're retreating to your head where you can find safety and relief from the awareness, the inner felt sense awareness of your body. And there was so much muscle tension whenever I first became aware of what's called the felt sense. It's also called interoception, being able to feel what's happening in my body. I was blown away. I always tell people it was like there was this grand finale fireworks show that had been taking place for years that I literally just wasn't aware of because I was so dissociated, either by living in my head all the time, I was always thinking about the past or the future, or daydreaming. I just was never present, or the 2 years of my life that I experienced depersonalization, feeling totally out of body, or at least partially out of body. Sometimes I felt totally out of body, but regardless, I wasn't aware of all the chaos that was happening. And if you're not even aware of the chaos that's happening, how can you even begin to resolve that? So a big thing that I do with clients is I teach them exercises that allow them to get in tune with the felt sense. And you can go to Google, type in felt sense exercises, right? There's a lot of them out there. And I'm going to do some on this channel for sure. But a big part of your journey is getting back in tune with your body again. And whenever I started to feel all the tension in my body, I was shocked. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to relax my body. And that's whenever I started to feel how amazing it felt whenever I would relax my body. And then whenever I started to relax my body, I started to notice that my emotions could now flow much better. I wasn't so emotionally numb all the time. And at first I found myself crying a lot more because I could finally release these emotions, because whenever your body's tense all the time, and that's happening subconsciously, it's not a state of healing. It's a state of survival, and you can't heal in a state of survival. Just like if a tiger was chasing a hyena, right? Or a gazelle rather. That's not a time of healing during the chase. It's, let's say that the gazelle played dead, the tiger walks away, then the gazelle can get up and go to a safe place and start healing and relax, and that's whenever everything would process. So that happened, and then I started to do these exercises by Dr. David Berceli called the trauma releasing exercises. That helped release some deep-seated fight or flight energy that was stored in my body, and I had no idea. Like, my body would just shake and tremor, and that's what these exercises are for, because that's how our body naturally discharges fight or flight energy, is through shaking. But a lot of times we suppress that. And then I started to detach fear from the symptoms. That's a big part of recovery too, through understanding what they were. And I started to look to, the world's leading experts in traumatic stress, Dr. Peter A. Levine, Bessel van der Kolk, Dr. Eric Gentry, people like that. And all of a sudden, all my questions started to get answered, and I started to hear the same message over and over and over again. You have to take care of what's happening in your body. You have to resolve what's happening in your body. But before you can do that, you have to become aware of the felt sense, become aware of what's happening in your body. And that's a challenge for people that are always living in their head and are still trying to fix this with their mind, or they're feeling totally out of body. So the body is the missing ingredient in your recovery path. If you're not including different techniques that are designed to get you in tune with your body, release muscle tension, process emotion, release fight or flight energy, the best that you're ever going to get is temporary relief. And if you really want to live free of this stuff in the long term, if you want to live free of traumatic stress and depersonalization-derealization, you have to include a somatic approach, which somatic just means body-based approach, instead of just a purely mind-based approach or trying to talk your way out of this. It's not going to work. And everybody that comes to me every single day, they're trying some sort of cognitive, mental gymnastics trying to fix this, and they're wondering why it's not working. And it's sad, but a lot of people have to get to a very dark place trying to use distraction and acceptance and all this stuff. And sometimes they have to go in and out of the symptoms for a while until they finally start to include the body-based approach, and then they truly recover and they can live free of these symptoms in the long term because they've included the missing ingredient that was preventing them from getting true results that last. So that is all for this video. You don't know how hard it is for me to not want to go even more in depth and make this like a 50-minute video, but I'm working on little slices of the pizza pie. Yes. Oh, that was so freaking stupid, Jordan. Don't ever do that. Hey, funny story. So I was at a Walmart, and I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Office Space. If you have not seen this movie, you need to watch it immediately. It is one of the most freaking funniest movies. And I was buying my Rubik's Cube for this illustration. I'm about to record some videos for my course too. And I saw this game. Literally, it comes with Milton's stapler. And if you guys have seen the movie, you're laughing. There's this guy named Milton, and I'm going to do the impersonation. He's like, excuse me, have you seen my stapler? Because I used to be seated by the window, and there were squirrels, and they were married, but I still kept a swing line stapler because it didn't bind up as much. But I still have not received my paycheck, and I told Lumberg that if they don't give me my paycheck, then I'm going to set the building on fire. And I told Dom too that if she's able to make calls while she's talk with customers while she's collating, then I should be able to talk at a reasonable hour. And they moved my desk 3 times, and I don't. Okay, anyway, if you've seen the movie, you think that's probably the worst impersonation you've ever seen. If you haven't seen the movie, that was also the worst impersonation you've ever seen. But anyway, literally, it's got Friday is Hawaiian shirt day. It's got that would be great. Anyway, meeting with the Bobs. Anyway, if you've seen the movie, this is like the coolest thing you've ever seen. If not, you're like, dude, what are you talking about? That's it. Like this if it helped you. Make sure to comment below. Ask any questions. I will do my best to get to them as quickly as possible. Also subscribe, join the Fearless family if you haven't joined the Fearless family. And yeah, that's it. Talk to you guys soon.